If you've been struggling to use a digital calendar, then today's video is for you. I want to talk about the biggest hurdle that I see many of my clients and my friends and my family come up against when switching from a paper planner over to a digital calendar, or just using the digital calendar that they have already set up. So, what is this big hurdle that I'm talking about? It's consistency. Just like with so many other habits out there, losing weight or learning a new language or being on a new diet, it's taking those small, consistent actions over time. And that's what's really going to move the needle forward. And switching over to a digital calendar is no different than learning how to put muscle on. It's just learning the technique and doing it over and over and over again until it's built into your life. And just like with any other tool, learning how to use your digital calendar for you so that it's contributing to your life instead of just another tool that you have that you're not really using and is annoying and taking up space and creating more mental clutter than actually being helpful. It's really getting into the habit of using it consistently. And the reason why I'm a digital organizer and why I feel so passionate about this space is I really believe that the digital calendar is the foundation, can be, maybe should be the foundation to most of our lives. And sometimes there's an argument that it's restrictive. I have to be looking at my calendar and I have to move things around all the time. But I actually see it differently. I see a digital calendar as being a tool of freedom. And one of the first things I tell my, clients, friends, family, whomever, telling you to schedule time in for is your downtime and time spent with your friends or your family or on your passion projects, right? Those are the first thing you schedule time for. But ultimately, it helps remove the clutter from our minds about what to remember when we have time for this, how far in advance, do I need to be planning for things, right? It can come out of our head onto our digital calendar, and that instead can be the holding tank. Our brains are not meant to be holding tanks, right? But the digital calendar can be that holding tank for all of our information. And there is something to be said about having too much rigidity with the calendar, right? There has to be, some sensible flexibility built into your schedule. And your schedule is going to look different if you're a stay-at-home parent versus a doctor who's on call versus an entrepreneur. And there's not necessarily a right or wrong way to plan your day. However, there is an importance in the mindset with which you approach and actually logistically schedule your day. And what I mean by that is making sure that you're showing up for the things you say you're going to do when you're going to do them. Of course, within reason, if there's emergency blood outside of being a doctor, you have to have that sensible flexibility, right? But for the majority of us, the real practice, the real habit, the real consistency is not just checking our calendar, but also showing up for the things that we say we're going to show up for when we say we're going to show up for them. And I am just as much, constantly working on this habit and constantly working on, how I approach this technique for my own self. There's a bajillion things, to be focusing on at any given time during the day, but to really show up for our calendar. And that's where I say, that freedom comes in, and being able to make progress towards our goal, or even more importantly, knowing that when we have scheduled family time, for the entire day of Sunday, we can really just relax and not have to be worrying about, did I forget about this, task? Did I forget about this client call? Did I forget about, X, Y, and Z? Because again, the calendar is that holding tank for all of that extraneous information. I'm pausing because I'm like, wait, did I use that word correctly? I have to ask my friend. So when we are scheduling our week out, we're showing up for the things we want, we're being consistent with, looking at our calendar every day, there's this sense of freedom that naturally is the fallout from that habit and that practice. So here's your challenge for the next 7 days. Every day, I want you to just look at your calendar. Just pull it up, take a glance at it, and just really start to build that habit of having it be kind of that default action of what am I supposed to be working on right now, or what time is my break, or when do I need, to go to the doctors, right? So every morning throughout the day, as is necessary based on, your life and your schedule, I really want you to start just getting into the habit of looking at your calendar for these next 7 days. And that's it. The biggest hurdle isn't usually the tech of actually using the calendar. It really is the consistency of creating that as a foundational tool of your digital life and your life in general. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to dive into how to schedule your week, which is one of my favorite things to do. Obviously, I'm obsessed with digital calendars. It's the foundation of my life and has been for many, many years. But we're going to walk through it together. I'm just remembering what the video is about here. I'm reading through my list. Walk through it together step by step, just so that you can feel confident, in planning your day-to-day life. And I will see you in the next video.